Jemima, hey, congratulations for your film. What's Love Got to Do with It?
Thanks, Gig.
It's a wonderful, delightful film. So we have to ask is where the what's the origination of this story? Where did it come from for you?
From my life, really. I mean, went to live in Pakistan when I was 20 until I was 30. I have British Pakistani kids. And I went there as the only non-arranged marriage in my ex-husband's entire family history. I lived with 26 of his family members, and all of them had had arranged marriage, or their kids were about to have arranged marriages. So I saw them up close. And I'd gone, I guess, with this kind of notion that arranged marriage has no real place in the modern world, that it's like this outdated medieval idea. And by the time I left after 10 years, there was part of me that thought, is that a worse way, necessarily than an algorithm on a dating app? And so I would have these discussions with friends of mine when I came back to the UK.
It's kind of ironic because your relationship wasn't an arranged marriage, and I'm assuming it wasn't on an app either.
It was neither on an app or an arranged marriage, and it also ended in divorce, unlike all the arranged marriages.
So, so how did you want to construct this story? Because you have the Pakistani background as the main thing, but you didn't really have that experience with the arranged marriage or the app, or is it because you do have the experience because you've met so many people who went through the process?
Well, yeah, I lived with all these people who had, and and by the way, varying degrees from like arranged marriage through to assisted marriage. And also, I get, I guess I'm seeing it through the eyes. I was telling the story from the point of view of Lily James, who's, her character is an outsider who is literally watching this process unfold and trying to understand it, and is grappling with the ideas as I did in real life. Obviously, I'm not actually behind the lens. Shekhar Kapoor, the esteemed, brilliant director, is. But in the film, there is it's not exactly, she's not me because she's in her 30s, but the idea, it's basically someone having, in a way, the same evolution of understanding, of seeing something up close as I did.
Now, tell me about one of the things that I love about these type of films is the development and the storylines of mixed relationships. And that's what you actually have. And you don't usually hear too many mixed relationships, not in my culture, not in the United States, especially not between a white person and a Pakistani, especially. I rarely hear those type of stories. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, what would you like me? What
Uh,
specifically would you
The,
like me?
the concept of mixed relationships.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think maybe because we have a really big we have a massive Pakistani diaspora in Britain, so it's much, much more common possibly than in America and particularly with the younger generations, there's way more mixed marriages that happen now. And I think one of the most amazing parts of making this film was the incredible British Asian reaction to it. So a lot of people messaged or put things on social media about how the film had enabled them, the younger generation. They went to go and see the film with their families, and it enabled them to have conversations with their family that they weren't able to have without it. And a lot of people, cannot tell you how many messages. It's the main theme of the messages was we stayed up into the night talking with our families, and we were able to broach the fact that might be a guy who had been secretly dating a white girl for the last 3 years, or the reverse. And they went and watched the film, and it facilitated those conversations. So for me, like, the most gratifying thing about this whole process has been the British Pakistani reaction to the film and how much they've taken it, into their hearts.
Now, in the end, because this film is sort of a debate between like arranged marriage and apps being set up like that. What is your opinion about those type of relationships, since you are familiar with it from the people around you? I mean, do you think it works better or works less, or is just a random roll of a dice?
I mean, I hope that the film is non-judgmental about this because that's how I feel. I feel that it's very easy to demonize the idea of arranged marriages and to always have the arranged marriage candidates billed as the kind of suboptimal candidates. And in my experience, that is not always the case. But equally, I think there are problems with both ends of the spectrum, too many options and too few options, you know. I think that there's probably somewhere in the middle of passion and pragmatism, you find a route to some kind of, you know, possibly the best route. I was going to say happy ever after, and I hate that because I don't even know what it means.
Well, now, you are very familiar with Pakistani culture. Talk about writing that into this film and make it most presentable for this type of movie.
So for me, part of the reason for writing the film was that a lot of Pakistani friends of mine felt very frustrated by the way that their country and how Pakistanis are always depicted on screen. So that they're always seen as somehow, you know, always backwards in some way, or depicted as terrorists or the shady ISI operatives, or, you know, and never just as like, frankly, just normal people. There's always has to be this kind of slightly scary edge. And Pakistan, you know, there've been some brilliant documentaries about Pakistan. There've been some brilliant TV shows and films about Pakistan, but I can't think of any that haven't been scary, you know, presenting it as a dangerous and scary place. And I think that can be quite frustrating. And it was frustrating for my kids for their, you know, their heritage to be seen in that way. So I chose a rom-com in order to show Pakistan, the side of Pakistan that I don't think most people get to see on their screens.
One of the most fascinating scenes is in your writing and for this film is the Pakistani wedding. Could you talk about that? I have never seen a Pakistani wedding on screen. I'm familiar with Indian weddings, but you know, this
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, is that Pakistan's quite a surprising place. It's full of contradictions, you know, and yet if you go to a party in Lahore, which is admittedly a very particular kind of section of society, you'd be shocked by what goes on, the shenanigans. It's definitely, there is, you know, a kind of racy crowd in, you know, amongst that section of society in Pakistan. And therefore, well, I don't want to give away the ending, but yeah, and also like Indian weddings, Pakistani weddings are incredibly colorful, they're really drawn out, they go on forever, and they're really beautiful, like the costumes and the music and the color and the food, and yeah.
um I'm gonna ask you a personal question. You don't have to answer, but I just want to know, did you have a Pakistani wedding? Also like in the film?
Yeah, I did. I had a Pakistani wedding, and actually the singer in the film, Rahat Fateh Ali Khan, played at our wedding. He plays himself in the film. You know that moment with the Sufi singer?
Yeah.
He played at our wedding. And I did, yes.
So this film has like so many like personal Easter eggs for yourself, which that is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every line and every character is something I've heard or come across whilst I was there.
Now, as a producer of this film, you had to bring in the a perfect cast, the perfect director to put it all the pieces together. Could you talk about bringing Shakar and then Lily James and Shazad into this wonderful film?
We were so lucky. I mean, we were such an amazing cast. Shazad and Lily are really old friends, and so that was kind of amazing to watch them because they'd never been in a film together. And so it was sort of wonderful to see them, and their sort of easy chemistry off screen, I think, hopefully translates as well on screen. Emma's just the greatest legend ever, so I just was so happy that she said yes. And then, of course, there are actresses who are huge in India and Pakistan that maybe are not so familiar to people in the West. So Shabana Azmi is an absolute icon with every, is just the perfect actress to play against Emma Thompson. And Sajal Ali's a very famous Pakistani actress who plays Maimuna in the film and is sort of plays opposite Lily James. So we got, and then even the peripheral actors and actresses we just were so lucky with some of those. I mean, just even Rahat Fateh Ali Khan playing Qawwali music in the scene as himself was just an incredible stroke of luck that he happened to be there in the vicinity when we were filming it, and we asked him and he said yes. So.
And what about having Shakar as the director?
Yeah, everyone always asks me because he's not like your immediate thought when you say rom-com director, because Shaker's made, brilliant films like Elizabeth, but you don't go from Bandit Queen to like lols. So he was quite surprising, and that's why I really liked him for it, because I mean he'd made working title films before, and this is a working title film, but also he understands how to make audiences feel about the story and the characters in a way that sometimes I think gets lost in comedies. And so I think, if you cry in this film, I think it's because Shaker is the director.
Most excellent. Now, I've looked up some of your background. It seems like you've done producing a lot of documentaries. Could you tell us about the love of documentaries and making this I want to say your first feature narrative writing credit, right?
Oh, yeah, it's the first thing I've written. I have produced scripted stuff before.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but it's I mainly produce. This is the first thing that I've written, and it took me a long time to do. But yeah, I love making documentaries. I made the Clinton affair about Monica Lewinsky's story. I made The Case Against Adnan Syed, which was with Amy Berg for HBO. That was a story based on the Serial podcast. And I'm currently got a few more documentaries actually out this year. So that's kind of my day job. But what did you want me to
about making this your first feature narrative? How was that experience like for you?
It was really challenging. I found writing to be quite a challenge. It took me 10 years to write this film, and it took, even longer to actually go from first idea to screen. And I think that so it was challenging, but also really rewarding. I feel like writing for me is a bit like exercise. Like you don't enjoy doing it, but you enjoy having done it.
Most excellent. Well, let me wrap it up with one last question, because I understand this production, for various reasons, couldn't take place specifically in Pakistan. Could you talk a little bit about that? And do you miss Pakistan?
So yeah, you're right. COVID prevented us from going. Although all the Pakistan scenes are actually shot in Pakistan, but as a second unit, the problem was we couldn't take the actors there, but all the actual scenes are shot there, thanks to the very brilliant Pakistani filmmaker Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, who stepped in and filmed those for us. Do I miss Pakistan? Pakistan for me is like a maddening relative. I constantly feel frustrated by the country and, the political situation. But if anyone else criticizes it, I sort of feel a little put out and will spring to its defense. So yeah, I miss my friends there and I miss the people, and yeah, I miss a lot about the country, but I still go plenty and I still have lots of friends from there. So I'm not.
Most excellent. Well, it's a wonderful conversation with you, Jemima. Thank you very much for carrying this talk with us. And once again, congratulations with What's Love Got to Do with It.
Thank you so much, Gig.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye now.